Hey everyone, Jack here, Talk Norwich City. I hope you guys are all doing very well indeed. Back for my preview ahead of Norwich City's biggest game of the season so far. It's Watford at Carrow Road this Saturday at 3 p.m. We've heard the press conference, so we have everything to dig into now, and it does feel like a big one, this. As always, with these previews and match reviews this season, a big thank you has to go to OneFootball for sponsoring them. I headed over to the OneFootball app, as I always do, most days even, to check out what's going on. And I voted on the Who Will Win voting system on the OneFootball app. I always like to see what other people are thinking. 7,500 people have already voted, and it's still Friday. And sadly, Norwich City are losing the vote with just 34% of the vote. 9% of people went for the draw, 57% in the majority going for Watford to win. You look at the statistics for this game and you can see why people think Watford will win this. Norwich City have lost their last 4 league meetings with Watford. Both times in the Championship it went 1-0 to the Hornets last season. Watford have won 6 of their last 9 away league games against Norwich, losing 3. And in the Premier League, Watford have won 3 of their 4 meetings, with Norwich losing the other, with the Hornets netting 2 goals in all 4 games. All of the stats leaning towards Watford, and Watford, of course, above us in the table, as is every single other side in the Premier League this season. They've got 3 points on the board, a win against Aston Villa on the opening day, 3-2, 2-0 defeats to Wolves and Brighton, and a 1-0 defeat to Spurs since then. Watford probably not in the best vein of form, neither are we. But this feels like there's pressure on Norwich City this weekend. And if you haven't yet heard or read what Daniel Farke came out with in his press conference today, I would urge you to head over there, wherever you get your press conference nuggets from, and just listen to it or read it or watch it after this video, because it was a passionate plea from Daniel Farke. Some of the parts I agreed with, some of them I didn't. Very much defending his own players as he should. I just felt he was kind of going on the defensive very early doors. He said that this isn't a must-win. I think he'd probably be stupid to say it was a must-win. But there's definitely pressure on this game for Norwich, and pressure that we've built ourselves. We always knew, having looked at the opening 5 fixtures in the Premier League campaign, that this was going to be the most winnable of them all. It's certainly not an easy game. Watford are a very good side. But you would have liked to have seen something from the opening 4 games. Now, the neutral would say, well, you know, Leicester, Arsenal, Man City and Liverpool, what are you expecting from them games? Well, arguably not a lot. But I think the manner of the defeats against Leicester and Arsenal, and yes, they were both only lost by a 1-goal margin in both, we just felt a bit passive. And I think that's the worry for me. Yes, Arsenal, as I say, only won 1-0, but they had 30 shots on goal. And the Leicester game, as I've said multiple times, and whether you agree with me or not, I feel like most teams would have got something from that game, and Leicester were poor that day. And I think even Leicester fans would have agreed that they maybe felt slightly fortunate to get something from that. So Norwich go into this game with no points on the board and a fairly depressing looking Premier League form list. We've lost 14 games in a row in the Premier League, and yes, I know we're kind of using historical results there, but we are in a serious rut when it comes to the Premier League, and we have to get out of that. Now, if we get out of it with a 1-0 lucky win tomorrow or a 4-0 win, I'll take either of them, but we have to get something against Watford tomorrow. And yes, tomorrow doesn't define the season, but I think if we lose, then it's going to be a really, really big uphill battle from now until the end of the season. There are positives going into this game. Both Josh Sargent and Dimitri Giannoulis are available. Even with Giannoulis fit, I would think that he will pick Brandon Williams in at left back. I think Brandon Williams on the whole has been good so far this season. Josh Sargent, however, would be starting for me. Now, whether he does start is another matter. Daniel Farke was defending both Teemu Pukki and Lucas Roop to the absolute hilt. Look, I think they're his players, and they're, you know, good bosses often defend their employees. well, on Lucas Roup's not a Premier League footballer. We've been over this and over again. This isn't a personal agenda. He's just not a Premier League footballer. Teemu Pukki, you could argue he is. 11 Premier League goals last time out. I don't think the chances have necessarily been created for him. He's got a goal on the board already this season. I like Teemu Pukki, and I've said multiple times, I think he will score goals in the Premier League this season. I just think that Josh Sargent has a bit more of a buzzy feel about him. He's got that yard of pace that Pukki had a couple of seasons ago. I think Pukki's maybe lost that with age slightly. I would be starting Josh Sargent in there. I would also be starting Mathias Normann, and I would also be starting Ozan Kabak. Now, the argument from those who think that Normann or Kabak shouldn't be starting is that they haven't been with the squad too long, they didn't really get a pre-season, etc., etc. We have to throw them in at some point. We have to wrap our heads around this. They are players who have played elite level football and have been signed by Norwich City with the hope of survival in the Premier League. Now we have to get them in there. There have been mistakes from Ben Gibson and Grant Hanley. There have been mistakes from the midfield. There's been mistakes from most of the players this season. But I see Ozan Kabak as an upgrade on the defence, and I see Mathias Normann as an upgrade on the midfield. Now, Pierre Lemalou looks like he's going to be out, so you can tinker with the midfield slightly. I fully expect Lucas Roup to start. I wouldn't start him, but I think Daniel Farke will start him. And then it depends if you have Billy Gilmore or Kenny McLean in there next to him. And I'm just really hoping that Mathias Normann plays, because I think he could be a real difference for Norwich City this season. It will be fascinating to see whether Todd Cantwell gets in there. I've liked what I've seen from both Christos Jolis and Milo Rashica this season. So I think we've got some real quality in behind the striker. But this is a huge game for Daniel Farke. Now, whether he was simply trying to deflect any criticism and pressure from his players with his comments pre-match, or whether it was simply him trying to already get his excuses in early doors, we will have to see. But I think it will be a lively day at Carrow Road. Both Watford and Norwich know how big this game is, and we just have to hope and pray that Norwich come out on top. We have to be better than we have been against Arsenal, Leicester and Manchester City. I thought the performance against Liverpool was okay in parts, but I think if we put in a performance like we did against Arsenal, we will get beaten by Watford at Carrow Road on Saturday, and that is just not an option at this stage of the season. I really do think we need something from this to just build off, if nothing else. There we go. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Who will you be starting if you were Daniel Farke? And what did you make of Daniel Farke's comments, really defending some of the players that have come under criticism by certain parts? I must say, I think criticism is warranted when you've lost 14 straight Premier League games, conceding 34 and scoring just 2. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts. Am I being a little bit harsh on these Norwich players? I'd like to hear from you. As always, a big thank you to OneFootball. You can download the app in the description below, and I'll see you at Carrow Road for the big one, Norwich-Watford on Saturday, the 18th of September. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye-bye.